Right now, 1 year after historic flooding hit our area, causing millions of dollars in damage, we're looking into upgrades being made to protect against future floodwaters.
And homeowners in Mazomanie are still waiting to hear from FEMA as they continue raising and rebuilding.
From the Channel3000.com Alert Center, this is News 3 Now at 6.
Thanks for joining us. Businesses all across our viewing area had to close down or come to a halt while they dealt with draining floodwaters this time 1 year ago.
Middleton was one of the hardest hit communities. Jamie Perez joins us live at Pheasant Branch Conservancy tonight, where they are still cleaning up a year later. Jamie?
Well, this time last year, we probably wouldn't even be able to stand where I'm standing right now. The waters, I'm told, were well above my height at this point. But the Pheasant Branch Conservancy has spent the past year making plans for the future in case floods like this happen again. The water here reminds us of the calm that was once chaos. This time last year, this entire area was flooded out.
This would have been all water. The whole trail was underwater. There were 350 trees ripped down. There was no way we could have been on this ground right now.
Floyd Egan remembers this day 1 year ago. Heavy sheets of rain came down, and so did many parts of the Pheasant Branch Conservancy.
We knew that it was going to take a long time to get better.
About $2.5 million in damages, 250 downed trees.
So we've come a long way, but we've always said that this was going to be the year for planning, and next year will be the year to implement.
While there are still many trees that haven't been removed yet, plans are in the works to restore this area to be even better than it once was.
At the end of September, we'll have a master plan completed with design for how the new path system will look.
Plans to make this area a funnel-type system, pushing away the water that could accumulate in a heavy storm, motivated by what they saw happen last year.
We're hoping we don't get a huge flood because the bridges themselves are not really secure. They couldn't take the kind of water that we had last year. Hopefully we'll never have another one that big, but we're trying to create the stability for long term in the new plan.
This area is still open for the public to enjoy. But Egan says it should be enjoyed with some caution, as there are still areas of uneven pavement and slippery areas that are still feeling the effects from last year's flood. And Lloyd Egan also mentioned that there will be one more public meeting held in September where people can basically voice their input about what they want to see in these new designs for the Conservancy, but for people to just keep in mind that the top priority here is to make sure that this area is basically flood-proof in case something like that happens again.
All right, Jamie Perez live in Middleton. Jamie, thank you. Now, if you walk into Primrose School in Middleton, now everything is pristine, but a year ago the space was unlivable after the historic rainfall. The inches of rain that drenched Middleton seeped into all 11 classrooms in August, destroying much of the early education and care center, displacing the 150 students and staff there. Owner Amanda Keenbaum managed to keep her business running by moving operations over to Black Hawk Church for 2 months while the damaged building was being renovated. She says that community support helped carry her through.
It was hard. It was hard. It was stressful. It was sad, as simple as that word is. It just was. But then you become brave because you have this team of support and this family, this Primrose family, that truly rallied around us to bring us to where we are today.
Primrose reopened in October, but the building is still undergoing minor renovations. Out of the 150 students enrolled, only 5 left after that flood.
Now, some neighbors in Mazomanie are just getting their lives back to normal a year out from the storm that flooded their village. Even people who have been down this road before watched their road get covered in water and their lives change in a matter of hours.
Every few years that happens, you know, that we can handle. But the big rain we had, that was something else, you know. Everybody was affected by that all around here.
When Jim Olson moved into his home on Hudson,
it wasn't just us.
The average home value was about $21,000.
A lot of things have happened here over that long time.
54 years later, he's still thinking about that one day.
It was just getting better until last year, you know, and everything went wrong then.
Jim and his wife Rose left out their front door on a boat without prescriptions and medical devices they rely on. By the time they got back, everything in the basement was ruined. Jim's creekside shed was swept away. That's where he kept his antiques.
I had toys in there from when I was a child, you know.
It took weeks before they were even allowed to rebuild, putting in new cabinets and flooring. Some things, like pictures and that shed, couldn't be replaced.
Take it for what it is.
The story is a familiar one around Mazo-Maney. A year later, about a dozen homes sit vacant, marked by months of mold and seemingly beyond repair. Others have already been demolished. Some have poured tens of thousands of dollars into raising and fixing their houses and are just able to move back in.
Not everyone has had the opportunity to bounce back, and so I think it's important that they don't slip through the cracks and that they're not forgotten.
The Olsons are now among the 7 homeowners in Mazo-Maney who may fall under a FEMA buyout program, which means they could have the option to sell their property and move to higher ground. Those people are still waiting on the federal agency for updates.
It's still here, I guess.
And Jim plans to stay here with high hopes that high water doesn't force him out again.
Just going to stay here and go on like I did before.
If any of those homeowners do accept the FEMA buyout, the village would buy the properties and then take the structures down. It may be months, though, before that's all finalized.
We will have continuing coverage today on this one-year anniversary of the historic flooding. Tonight, we're investigating how the Hillsborough Dam in Vernon County contributed to the flooding, plus if flaws identified in an inspection would have been fixed. Would there be less damage? That's tonight, only on News 3 Now at 10. Some rain chances tonight, but no flooding concerns. Let's check your first alert forecast with our chief meteorologist, Gary Canalti. Gary?
Eric, and even those rain chances are going to be pretty slight. Things pretty quiet right now across southern Wisconsin. The clouds that we had from earlier today have dissipated, allowing sunshine to warm us up. And as you can see on Doppler track, really no precipitation left in Wisconsin. There were a few showers down around Monroe mid-afternoon. Those have dissipated. Can't rule out an isolated shower or thunderstorm popping up yet this evening because the humidity levels are high. Temperatures right now are in the lower 80s, a little cooler closer to Lake Michigan where there's been more cloud cover, but the dew point temperatures are still in the upper 60s to around 70. So until those start to come down, can't rule out the threat for an isolated shower or thunderstorm. Heat index values now are in the middle 80s. By tomorrow morning, look for a drop in the heat and the humidity. Temperatures will fall into the middle 60s by morning. Then look for a partly sunny, cooler and less humid day tomorrow with a high of 78. That's your News 3 Now First Alert forecast.
Gary, thank you. A 23-year-old Milton man is dead after an interstate crash that backed traffic up for miles this morning in Janesville. DOT officials say a Ford pickup truck hit the back of a semi near Avalon Road. That truck got stuck in the left lane, and moments later, a Chevy Silverado rear-ended it. That Chevy driver was killed. A 34-year-old Madison man in the Ford truck was injured. Both names are being withheld until family members are notified. Happening now, hundreds of MG&E customers are without gas service in Verona after a contractor hit a gas line there. According to a utility spokesperson, this happened around 2 o'clock this afternoon, right in front of the Willow Point Assisted Living Facility. Verona police confirm a total of 120 people had to be evacuated from that facility and a nearby apartment complex. They were allowed back home about an hour later. Right now, gas service is off in the area, and MG&E crews are out physically relighting customer pilot lights. They hope to have that done within the next few hours.
State regulators have approved the controversial Cardinal Hickory power line stretching across southwestern Wisconsin from Middleton all the way to Dubuque. The project is expected to cost more than $500 million. $67 million of that would be passed on to Wisconsin ratepayers. Conservation groups, along with Dane and Iowa counties, have lined up to oppose that project, saying it will deliver little renewable energy, damage conservation areas, and result in minimal ratepayer savings. The Iowa Utilities Board and federal regulators still need to approve it to cross the Upper Mississippi River National Wildlife and Fish Refuge.
At the state capitol, 2 Republican lawmakers are introducing bills aimed at protecting elderly Wisconsinites. Those proposals would expedite hearings in criminal cases involving elderly victims or witnesses. They would also allow brokers, that is, to delay transactions from vulnerable adults' accounts in suspected scam cases and strengthen criminal penalties for sexually and physically abusing people over the age of 60. These bills are based off recommendations from former Attorney General Brad Schimmel's Elder Abuse Task Force.
One case of elder abuse is one case too many here in Wisconsin. And so we're hopeful because there was a lot of legwork that went into this task force. And again, this was in large part many thanks to former Attorney General Brad Schimmel, who realized that this was a problem and wanted to be proactive.
Representatives from AARP, the Wisconsin Board on Aging and Long-Term Care, and the Wisconsin County Human Service Association are publicly supporting these bills.
More than 50 groups are urging the state legislature to pass a bill licensing dental therapists, the position a step below a dentist. The bill is meant to address a shortage, particularly in rural areas. Wisconsin Dental Association and Marquette University, which houses the state's only dental school, oppose that measure. One lobbyist says the bill won't solve the problem it's intended to address because it doesn't require dental therapists to work in underserved areas. There's a public hearing on that issue tomorrow. New video tonight of 3 people caught on camera riding electric scooters on the interstate in Milwaukee. The group said they were misguided by their GPS.
We obviously don't give an intelligence test before people take these things out. People have to use a little common sense here. And if you're taking a scooter on the expressway, you're not using common sense.
Up until now, the biggest problem for Milwaukee has been people riding those scooters on sidewalks instead of the street. Marquette University and UW-Milwaukee have announced they are banning scooters on campus sidewalks and walkways. As for the 3 on the interstate, a sheriff's deputy pulled them over and drove them to safety. They were each cited more than $200.
Next at 6, Madison police say they are keeping an eye on city surveillance cameras.
And trying to stop crimes as they happen, but the effort may be raising some privacy questions. Stay with us.
Welcome back. 2 teens face tentative charges after Madison police caught them in an alleged drug deal. Now, they didn't see this in person, but they watched it live on city cameras.
Madison PD says although this was a special operation and they aren't always monitoring in real time, the cameras are a big help. Our Amanda Quintana is downtown with more on how police are using this technology to target a troubled area. Amanda?
Usually we hear of police looking into city cameras after a crime has occurred, looking for suspects or for evidence. But in this case on Friday, they saw it happen exactly when this alleged crime was happening on camera. And they told police just down the street that it was happening.
The existence of these cameras is, complete news to me. I'm guessing that's them over there. Okay, so those aren't just lights.
Bradley Carter didn't realize there were city cameras on State Street. Now hearing that police can use them to watch for crime as it happens, he's not sure how comfortable he is with that.
It's always sort of a balance between, security and privacy. On one hand, how much privacy can people really expect when they're in a public area? But on the other hand, since it is a public area, it's not as if people are really able to, immediately consent to being recorded like that.
But he says those cameras also mean if there is danger, police could see it and get here faster, and that's always a good thing.
We are watching in some of these areas where it's proven to be problematic in terms of Upper State Street. We've had sexual assaults, we've had stabbings, shooting, batteries, you name it.
Joel Despain says police aren't always monitoring the cameras in real time, but they will if they have extra staff and are running a special operation, like they were this weekend, seeing an alleged drug deal as it happened.
We had officers on the street at the moment that drug transaction took place within probably a block. And so they were on top of these two suspects within probably a matter of seconds, if not a minute or two.
Despain says when they are watching, it tends to be through these cameras on State Street. Visitors hope just knowing police could be watching will deter crime, and the cameras could make proving it easier with video.
If you don't have anything to hide, right, if you're doing what you should be doing, then, the cameras aren't going to matter in the end. So it's a good thing.
This weekend's special operation was part of the Downtown Safety Initiative, specifically targeting this area of State Street. They also monitor those cameras very closely during things like Freak Fest or rallies and events in this area.
Amanda Quintana reporting live downtown. Amanda, thank you.
Coming up in sports, Quintez Cephas is already listed on the Badgers football online roster. Melissa Kim tells us when we'll hear from head coach Paul Chryst about Cephas's return.
And after a shower chance tonight, we're looking at clear skies for the rest of the week. Gary will have your first alert forecast next.
Chief Meteorologist Gary Canalti in now with a look at weather. A pretty nice day, but the humidity was a little thick out there.
Yeah, well, it's better to have the humidity than the rain like we had last year at this time. But, humid weather last year at this time was a part of the big setup. Chris Reese put together this graphic this morning showing exactly what happened last year. There was a big bubble of heat and humidity over much of the eastern part of the country as we headed into this time in August, and strong southerly winds just kept bringing up a load of moisture from the Gulf of Mexico right into the Midwest, and it was just kind of centered right over our part of the Midwest, and low pressure moved just to the south of us and just kind of sat here and spun the moisture in, bringing wave after wave of showers and thunderstorms across much of the central portion of Wisconsin. Now, here are some of the rainfall amounts. These are unofficial totals. If this Cross Plains total of 14.7 inches was certified as official, it would have been the wettest ever in the state of Wisconsin. Same thing for the one from Middleton. But many amounts, unofficially even, in the 8 to 12 or 13-inch range over much of the eastern or western portion of Dane County. You can kind of see this here. This is from the National Weather Service showing estimated precipitation amounts from the 17th through the 27th. And you see western portions of Dane County well over 10 inches. Also, northern Jefferson County, southern portions of Dodge County. There was that tremendous amount of flooding around Waterloo. Then also just north of Milwaukee as well. But the good news for us this year is this is the European model precipitation forecast all the way through 12 a.m. Monday of next week, showing almost no precipitation across southern Wisconsin. And in fact, over the last 48 hours, little or no precipitation has fallen over most areas and less than a half inch over southwestern Wisconsin. But not far away, there are amounts of 3 to 5 inches or more over parts of northeastern and west central Iowa, parts of southern Minnesota, and also down into parts of northern Illinois. Several inches of rain there. But right now, Doppler track free of precipitation across Wisconsin. Showers and thunderstorms off to the east are moving away, and you can see nothing popping up here. It's possible we could see an isolated shower or thunderstorm pop up this evening, but it would be the exception rather than the rule. Live view from the Queeby Radio Skycam in Platteville. Hardly get any rain if there's no clouds, although there are a few billowing clouds to the west of the WISC Skycam. So again, it's possible we could see a shower or thunderstorm pop up. Edgewater Skycam, though, looking toward the southeast, showing mainly clear skies. 82 degrees the high for today, low temperature at 58, but right now we're at 81 degrees. But more importantly, the dew point temperature is still in the upper 60s, so it is pretty humid out there. Winds are out of the south at 10 miles per hour. A cold front moving through later on tonight will bring us cooler and less humid air for tomorrow. So for tonight, partly cloudy, an evening shower or thunderstorm can't be ruled out. Some patchy fog late with a low of 65. But then for tomorrow, partly sunny, cooler and less humid day with a high temperature of 78 degrees. On future track, can't rule out an isolated shower or thunderstorm this evening, but then skies will be partly cloudy overnight with some patchy fog, lows in the mid-60s. For tomorrow, high temperatures upper 70s. Those northwesterly winds bringing in drier air, and the humidity levels will drop pretty quickly in the afternoon. That will lead to temperatures in the mid-50s for tomorrow night and high temperatures in the mid to upper 70s on Thursday, with dry weather expected through the weekend. Highs in the 70s through Sunday. A little more humidity, some thunderstorm chances early next week, and then a drop in the heat and humidity for the middle of next week.
Well, will he or won't he? We've got an update on whether Aaron Rodgers will be on the field on Thursday. Next in sports. Well, the Badgers wasting no time. Quintez Cephas already back on the Wisconsin football roster online after he was readmitted to school and back on the team yesterday. Cephas last played in 2017 when he only played in 9 games after he broke his leg in the game at Indiana midseason. But still, he led the team in touchdowns and was just 46 yards behind Troy Fumagalli, who led the team in receiving yardage. And Fumagalli only played in 13 games. So how will Cephas fit back into the offense? Well, media availability for the team was canceled yesterday, but head coach Paul Christ and company are scheduled to talk to reporters tomorrow morning, so stay tuned. Packers wide receiver Jamon Moore cited with driving too fast after his car spun out on Highway 29 near Green Bay on Friday. That is according to the police report. Moore collided with a pickup truck and that driver requiring medical attention. In the report, Moore said he lost control because he couldn't see and there was heavy rain. He is okay, though, and he did practice with the team today. Meanwhile, head coach Matt LaFleur still hasn't decided whether Aaron Rodgers will play on Thursday night against the Raiders. It'll be a game-time decision, he said today. As for the running backs, Aaron Jones will be making his first trip to Canada in his life tomorrow, and he is super antsy to get back on the field.
I think we're going to establish the run game, come out and run the ball, and you'll see how the you'll see how it's supposed to be ran, like the outside zone, inside zone, and just different things. And I'm excited to run behind those big guys. I've been waiting to run behind them. So.
Some updates on the Raiders. Look who showed up to training camp in California. Antonio Brown bringing the whole saga over his helmet to an end. Head coach John Gruden said today that he's all in and ready to go. Brown causing some distractions in the last month, leaving camp to treat his frostbitten feet, and then a second time because the league wouldn't let him wear his helmet. They'll play the Packers on Thursday in Winnipeg at 7 p.m. The high school football season begins this week, and so does our 12th installment of the Prep Mania High School Football Game of the Week. Friday night, Monona Grove visits Wanakee, and Jay Wilson, Bill Brovey, and Alan Minert will bring you the game live on channel3000.com. Again, this Friday night at 7 p.m. And finally tonight, the Patriots making a little typo in their preseason roster, listing Tom Brady as 22 years old. The quarterback loved it, though, posting on Instagram that the team finally got his age right. Brady's actually 42 years old, by the way. And with the 20 years of experience that he has there listed on that roster, well, he would have started in the league at age 2. So, hey, he liked it, downgrading him 20 years. He sort of plays like he's like 22
right.
anyway.
Yeah,
exactly.
He has not lost a step, no doubt. Gary, final check.
Can't rule out an isolated shower or thunderstorm this evening. Nothing showing up on radar. I'm watching some clouds building up to the west of the WISC studios, so it's possible we could see a shower or storm pop up. Temperatures right now, though, lower 80s with dew point temperatures in the upper 60s to around 70. Pretty humid out there, but a break in the heat and humidity for the rest of the week into the weekend. Some thunderstorm chances Monday and Tuesday, and then another break middle of next week.
Gary, thanks. Thanks for joining us for News 3 now at 6.
We will be back here at 10 with more of a look back on the flooding last year.